Hi guys, my name is Belle and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing a really fun product. I only have one of them, but I just thought it'd be fun to talk about it and really just dive into it. So the product that we're going to be talking about is Jaclyn Hill's Bronzer Blush Duo. It looks like this. And then the duo that I got was Warm Flush and Golden Goddess. So the duo looks like this, and I'm gonna give you guys a close-up as well. So it looks like this. In this duo, Warm Flush is described as a satin peach pink, and Golden Goddess is described as a light to medium bronzer with warm undertones. Just reading off of Jaclyn's site, this is $36. I believe you get a different amount of bronzer and blush. So the blush net weight is 4 grams and the bronzer net weight is 5, so slightly different amount. Same pan size, I think it has to do with like the density or something. I did also pick up 3 of the highlighters, but I think I'm going to talk about them in another video just for the sake of time. But I believe I picked up Sparks, Iced, and Mesmerized, if I'm not mistaken, from the single highlighters. So before we get started with anything else, what I want to do is swatch these, and then I'm going to compare them to a few of my favorite bronzers and blushes right now. Truth be told, I use a lot of cream blushes currently, so I'm really going to only compare it to one blush, but I have a few bronzers I want to compare it to. Normally, I would go after the fair to light bronzers because I think that suits my skin tone better, but I definitely saw this peach tone online and that really drew my eye, and I was just hoping that because this is a light to medium, it would still work for me. But normally my bronzers are a little cooler tones, so I just want to point that out there when I do the comparisons. And then this will be a good judgment of whether or not this like medium tone, warm tone palette would be good on someone with a lighter skin tone. So the first thing I'm going to do is swatch the blush, which looks like this. I actually think this blush is really beautiful. I saw some reviews online that said they don't have a lot of pigment, it doesn't really show up, and I haven't found that to be the case at all. At least for me, I'm not looking for something crazy pigmented. I'm not sure if the lighter blushes are the ones that are having more of the difficulty, but I find that this one definitely shows up and is very beautiful. Next, I'm going to swatch the bronzer right next to it, so it looks like this. So these are the 2 swatches of the Jaclyn Hill products. This is the blush and then this is the bronzer. You can definitely tell that the bronzer is warm toned. You'll be able to see it more when I swatch some cooler toned bronzers next to it. So the first bronzer that I'm going to swatch in comparison is this Milani one. This is the Sunlight Silky Matte Bronzer in 01. I would say this is a pretty good bronzer for light skin tones. I can hold it up real quick. You can tell I got some use out of it. This is probably my second one. And I would say it's fairly cool tone and actually kind of similar, at least from what I'm getting from the Jaclyn Hill ones, is that it doesn't apply very heavy. It definitely is a bronzer that you can build up, which I like because it keeps me from making like quick, crazy mistakes where I put something down and then just have this like muddy mess on my face. I definitely like bronzers that you can build up. Same kind of with blushes as well, so I would say that they are both kind of lighter bronzers. I'm gonna swatch this right here. You can just tell from the swatch, this is a lighter bronzer. This one's almost like just a cooler brown. This one has more orangey, peachy tones to it. Hopefully you can see that, and obviously this one's just lighter than this one because this is the fairest one in the range. And then the next bronzer I'm going to compare it to is from Tarte. This is the Park Avenue Princess Bronzer. This one is the matte one. I think they have one that is not matte as well. Obviously, I love this one. I use this one all the time. It looks like this. I would say this one applies a little darker or like more full than the other two. Again, just my thoughts on it. But all of them are bronzers that you can build up. I would say depth-wise that this one is the same as the Jaclyn Hill one, but I would say that you can see that this one is definitely cooler than the Jaclyn Hill one. That is definitely a warmer toned bronzer. I mean, in comparison, it almost looks like blushy next to these two, which are so cool toned. Finally, the blush that I want to compare it to is the powder blush. Finally, the blush that I want to compare it to is the powder blush in the Darya palette from Natasha Denona. It looks like this. This one's definitely pinker than... This one is definitely... This one is definitely a pinker blush as opposed to peach, but I'm just gonna swatch it next to it. Both of them have that like satiny... This one definitely has more sheen to it than the Jaclyn Hill one and is definitely brighter and more pink, where the Jaclyn Hill one is definitely a peachy tone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you guys in and I'm going to apply these to my face. My plan is to apply them to one side first and then the other side afterwards, just so you can get a sense of what they look like and kind of how pigmented they are. I think when I'm applying them all at once, maybe it's a little difficult to tell what the side without bronzer looks like, so I want to make sure that you can see both sides, and then we will zoom back out and do our final thoughts. So now that you guys are zoomed in, the first thing I'm going to do is bronze, and I'm going to start off just using a powder brush. This one's from Real Techniques. This is the 407 multitask brush. So, and this is the mini, of course. I'm just going to apply bronzer like I normally would. Also, just to note that I have a pimple here and here from the stress of last week and from touching my face way too much. So best advice is when you're stressed, don't compound it by touching your face all the time and then causing yourself to break out. Quite unfortunate, so just ignore those sections as much as possible. But yeah, so I'm just gonna put it where I normally would bronze. And yet it obviously shows up pretty strong. I have fair skin. Which is fine because I'm gonna buff it out anyway. But I just want to put some there. And I just do like a simple bronze, like that 3 technique almost everyone does for contour and bronzer. And I'm just gonna keep it on one side of my face right now so that you guys can kind of see the difference. So if you're looking, you can see the bronzer here and no bronzer there. I'm gonna do my forehead. Again, just pulling bronzer up. I'm warming my forehead up a bit. Sorry, I'm doing this using the viewfinder a bit because it's just easier. And then maybe just a little more to like carve out my cheek just a bit more. And then I just blend in circles up and back towards your ear/temple. I also wanted to mention that I don't wear foundation, so I have moisturizer, sunscreen, and then the Maybelline Fit Me matte poreless transparent or translucent powder on top. But besides that, that's what I'm applying the bronzer to. So essentially I just have moisturizer and a veil of powder over it. And I think that the bronzer applies really well. I don't know and can't speak to how it applies over certain foundations because I don't wear foundation, at least I'm not wearing any right now. So I can just speak to how it applies over a powder, and I think it applies really well. I'm able to kind of buff it into the places I want it to be. I think it looks really really evenly applied. I don't see any like blotchiness, and it definitely doesn't get too stuck where you put it if you wanted to blend out a certain area. Also, this is not the first time I use this product, but I do want to mention that I was pleasantly surprised that this wasn't too dark for me. I know it says light to medium. I think I'm more on the fair to light side, but it's nice that I'm able to use this and that it's the type of bronzer that you have to build up. So if you do have a lighter skin tone or even a medium skin tone, I think it applies to a wider range, at least in the context that you can, you know, apply lightly like I did, or you can kind of really build it up if you wanted some more coverage. So now I am going to do the other side quickly to even it out. So now that I've applied the bronzer, I'm going to apply the blush, and I'm just going to apply a bit to my cheeks, again, one at a time, so that you can see kind of what it looks like on one side without the other side. And I'm just patting on, I mean, you can definitely see it, as opposed to this side that doesn't have it. I'm just patting it on areas that I want. You can also see that it kind of gives a like dewy, satiny effect to it, which I really like actually, instead of having it be perfectly matte. And I'm just gonna pull this up, and then I'm gonna do circular motions up to my temple and back to the center of my cheek, like this. And then I'm going to do a bit on the nose. Just the tiniest bit. And now before I do the other side, just so you can see, this is the side with the blush on it. This is the side without. You definitely can see it applied. You can see that satiny finish on this side. And I think it looks really nice. I've been looking for a peach blush. I saw it in the duo and I was just excited to try it, and I'm really liking it so far. Now I'm gonna do the other side. So now that you guys are zoomed out, I wanted to give my final thoughts. I actually think this duo is really beautiful. I didn't pick up any of the other ones, so I can't really comment on them. But this one is really beautiful if you're looking for a warmish tone bronzer that's not too dark, and then also a peach blush. I think that the blush is the star of the show for me. I really enjoy it. I was looking for a peach blush. I think this one is beautiful. I think the bronzer is a little warm for me, but I think because it's kind of buildable and doesn't go on too heavy initially, I think that it's definitely workable. And I enjoy the finish of both of these products. I know some people may have been having some difficulty with application, but I haven't had any difficulty so far, and I've been really enjoying using them. I'm also going to be doing a video on her highlights, so if you're interested in that, that should be coming out soon as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped you determine whether or not this palette would be interesting for you. And if you enjoy this content, definitely like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And comment down below if you're interested in this, if you're interested in any of her other duos, or maybe if you're interested in one of the highlights, or if you want to see this swatched in comparison to other bronzers or blushes. I definitely would be willing to do a follow-up video swatching this in comparison to other things if that was something that you are interested in. So definitely comment down below, and I hope you have a great day or night or morning or whatever time it is. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.